Okay, good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to day 5 of the Youth Entrepreneurship Forum. I'll pass this mic on to Dr. Kagema to just do a brief welcome on behalf of Karatina University. So Dr. Kagema, if you are on, mic is on to you.
Okay, great. My brother, Dr. Washila. Good evening, esteemed participants. We formed a great family together. Good evening, Manuela, all the way from Washington, D.C. Kindly wave to our crowd. Great. And we are quite excited to have you this great day. This is the last leg of this awesome training that we started on Monday. And we feel excited that a lot of things have happened. Nevertheless, we're feeling a bit anxious that it's coming to an end. But nevertheless, we believe it has been impactful, it has been splendid, it has been all those descriptors that one can think about this training. So feel welcome. Welcome, Professor Wanjao there. I can see you. Welcome, Elizabeth, all the way from Madaras, Dolcas, everyone. So we have a highly punched session, and I believe this will have a great impact into ourselves. Thank you, David. Back to you.
Certainly. So once again, welcome to everyone. Welcome to our viewers. We would like to welcome you. We ask you to please kindly chat us on the live chat. Field us your questions. Let us know how you're going and how you're doing and what else you would like us to talk about through the course of today or even for future events. Without further ado, let me introduce my very good friend, Manuela De Muscio, who I have been butchering her name for the past 5 years. And even this morning, she chided me about it. But Manuela is a close friend. She's an IT business analyst, IT business management analyst in the office of the Chief Information Officer at the World Bank Group. Manuela has 9 years of combined work experience in project change, management, and strategic corporate communication. She mostly worked in international organizations, including the United Nations, and currently supports the World Bank Group Vice President and Chief Information Officer in managing the IT portfolio. Manuela supports the CIO in implementing the World Bank Group digital strategy on facilitating digital innovation to enable the World Bank Group to achieve its mission of ending extreme poverty and promote shared prosperity in a sustainable way by delivering transformative information technologies to staff across 150 geographic locations and countries. As an entrepreneur, she founded and supported several initiatives within various institutions, including inter alia, the World Bank Group's Women Network, the Women in Technology Network, the Youth Tech Series, and the International Finance Institution's Women IT annual event, and the Young Women in IT Summer Internship Program. In 2016, she was appointed the co-chair of the World Bank community of young professionals, representing over 8,000 youth around the globe. During her 2-year mandate, she led a team of 20 young professionals and fundraised $1 million to invest in youth-led projects across more than 50 countries to help the most vulnerable. Manuela is a first-generation graduate student, having earned a Master's of Science in International Management and a Bachelor of Arts in Modern Languages and Communication with a minor in Business and Tourism. She speaks 5 languages and has worked in several countries across 4 continents. Her motto is live, learn, and never give up. So I met Manuela 5 years ago, and she was one of our partners at the World Bank Youth to Youth. In fact, in 2016 to 2018, we served as co-chairs of the World Bank Group Youth to Youth. So that's where I met her as a personal friend. So Manuela, welcome on board. It's definitely a pleasure to have you. Come and speak to our youth on the challenges of youth entrepreneurship, plus anything else you want to offer them in terms of advice and input. Over to you, Manuela.
Thank you so much, David. And good morning, good afternoon to people. I know you're connected from different parts of the world. So it's been a pleasure to be invited to this great event and cherishing our friendship for the past year and more years to come. So thank you, David. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Dr. Kajema, and everybody here. And thank you for following us today. First of all, before we start, I would like to take a few minutes to express my thoughts to all of those that are currently experiencing COVID. It's a very sad situation, unfortunately, around the globe. But my wish is that everybody, including you, your respective families, are doing well. So with that in mind, I also want to be grateful for where we are here today. We have to be grateful because we have a connection. We can talk to each other despite the entire situation and challenge. So back to us. So thank you, David, for the great introduction as well. So I am Manuela, and I'm originally from southern Italy. And the reason why I say that southern Italy is because sometimes people start thinking about Italy as a developed country, as a rich country, and all of that. But within my country, even there's so many challenges. Like especially the south, there's 50%, almost 50% of the population that are at risk of poverty. And why I'm saying that, because I grew up in that context. And so this is to say that you never have to lose faith in what you like and what you do, because you never know in life. Always believe in what you love. And so I thought of sharing a bit about my story. So I grew up in a very humble context in southern Italy. And I was the first one, first of all, a woman, which is quite a challenge already, to leave the family. I was 18. I was asked to go. I was awarded a merit-based scholarship to study in France. And you can imagine my parents when I went to them and I was like, "Hey, mom and dad, I won this scholarship and I'm moving to France." And you may imagine, the first one in the family ever leaving, the first one ever accessing even college, and plus going abroad. So that was, and plus without knowing any language. And so David said earlier, I speak 5 now. So definitely languages has been one of my passions, because growing up I didn't have the chance to travel and to explore the world much. And so that was what became my my mission in life, my passion, to learn more about different cultures. And so why I'm saying this, because today I work in a very diverse institution, which is the World Bank Group. And I'm very grateful for that. So one of my goals when I was a child was to be working with people from all around the globe. And so in a way that goal is met. And so I checked it, and I'm very grateful for that. So sometimes what I notice, especially in young women, we go through so many challenges, but not only young women, in general, as youth, right? And especially when we are faced by new environments, new changes, it always comes with a challenge. And so today, talking about challenges in entrepreneurship, what my message to you is to never fear. Never fear the new, never fear the change, because that's what helps you grow. So I know if you want to share in the chat how many people are actually interested in entrepreneurship, and also I want to tell you about intrapreneurship, which is another side of entrepreneurship. So being an intrapreneur is basically what you do within an institution, how you foster change within an institution, and how you make an impact around the globe. And so one example that David mentioned earlier is our work with the young professionals of the World Bank Group. So back in the days with David, it was, I think, already three years ago, if maybe a little bit more than that, we were faced by the challenge that a lot of young professionals wanted to implement projects around the globe for youth. but we didn't have funding. And so that's one of the greatest challenges, like funding. What did we do? We kind of reinvented ourselves, and we started organizing events with different goals, like either on climate, either on poverty. And we would charge people that would attend those events with a ticket. And so all those proceeds then would go to fund those projects. So we were able to implement several across the globe. We fundraised over $1 million throughout the years, and this, you can imagine the impact he had in the longer term, right? So because sometimes we think that one small thing is just stays there as a small little action, but actually a small little action that you do today can make a very, very big difference in the world after. And as you compound those small actions, then you will make a much greater impact. So there's definitely something that you never have to lose sight. So one big thing and challenge that I face myself when I receive letters of interest, or when we're recruiting people, is tell me why. So even as an entrepreneur or intrapreneur within an institution, tell me what's your story, and also why do you want to do certain things? For instance, why do you want to build an app on solving something, right? Tell me why, but also tell me why in a short and simple way. Because if you're asking for funding, if you're asking for support, if you're asking for mentorship, anything, I need to know that you're passionate about it. And I think that every project, every idea, every product, service driven by passion, that's what makes a big difference. And I can assure you that anything you do with passion will never feel like it's work. So I really hope you will find that secret sauce in you that would enable you to say, hey, I'm going to enjoy myself today and the next days, because I'm doing my passion. And I'm not doing my work in the sense of work, like, sometimes we hear, oh, I need to work. It's never going to feel like that if you truly do something that you're passionate about. And so one other little story about me, when I graduated from college, as David said, I have a bachelor's degree in languages and then minor in tourism and business. And my thesis was exactly about ending poverty, and it was about the World Bank. And then throughout those years, so now it's 2021, and I started working for this great institution back in 5 years ago. I wrote a thesis about it, and that passion then translated into what is my job today. So again, going back to the other challenges that we were discussing about, make sure that whenever you're seeking funding, whenever you're seeking for support, have your elevated pitch ready. And the elevated pitch ready, I mean a 30-second pitch or a one-pager that tells me or the investor why do you want to do this? Why it is important for society? What problem is solving? And before you even get to that, it's also really important to surround yourself by people that are truly honest with you, and actually I would say brutally honest. And the reason why I say that is because you need people that provide true feedback to your idea. It's really important to validate it with other people, because only with this type of validation you will get through perfection and through what people really need and want. And so, sometimes we are the best critical users for our own ideas, but at the same time, it's always good to spam outside and ask people outside of our own bubble, right? So ask your family. I'm pretty sure your family will be brutally honest, or your friends, or even people that are outside that you don't know. Like, hey, would you use this app? Or would you use my product? Or what do you think about this idea that I have? sometimes I take my phone when I have some projects to implement, which one of the ones that I'm leading right now is one related to digital literacy within the World Bank Group. Sometimes I just pick up my phone, call my friends and say, hey, would you do this? Do you like this? How would you do it better? What do you think? And so all this feedback that I collect then helps me to create a much better product or a much better service, depending on what it is that you're doing. So the other thing for sure that every entrepreneur or intrapreneur faces is fear. And I know it's totally normal, but we also have to understand that if you let fear overtake you, then you kind of get stuck and then you will never move forward. So understand when it's the right moment to just say, okay, I have enough information, I gather enough feedback, I'm ready for my elevated pitch. Now I really need the funding to get started. And make that happen. Like everybody, I want you to know, everybody grows through this process. Nothing is so lean and smooth as you think or as you wish it would be. It's totally normal to face a lot of these challenges. And so definitely do it. So that would be my message to you. Do it. And you know, when you think you have fears or you're like, you think you're failing, it's not. It's actually, that's the moment that you're learning the most and you're growing to prepare for a better solution. So so that's in a few words. The other point that I wanted to touch upon, it's one of the acronyms that my boss uses all the time. It's KISS. So it's keep it simple, stupid. Now let's not use the word stupid because it may offend people. So my version of it would be keep it short and sweet. So every time you expose an idea, you want to make sure it's well organized. You have your one pager ready and clear thoughts in it on what you're asking for. Put your ask at the beginning. I'm looking for funding. I'm looking for mentorship. And make sure your why is in there. Your passion needs to come through the lines. In fact, one of the things that maybe most of you are going through or will go through after you graduate is looking for a job. So for recruiters, it takes about 10 seconds or less to decide if they want to read your resume or not. And same thing, that would take 10 seconds or less if I want to read or not your request for funding or request for attention. So make sure it's use the right word to make it pop and make it attractive as much as possible. And what I mean by that, it's not by fluff and all these images or colors. No, keep it simple, but make it clear. And don't be sensitive to critics, because these are the ones that are gonna truly help you to make your solution or your idea, project or service better. So that's a little bit what I would share today, but also I'd like to hear from you if you have any questions, and I'll gladly answer those. Back to you, David.
Sorry, I forgot I was on mute. Thank you so much, Manuela. It really sets up the stage for our next part of the discussion. So first, to the audience, before I move on, I would like to encourage you to keep your questions coming. We'll make this live and interactive and really try to unpack some of the challenges that you have faced. But to set the framework, I do have a few myself. Let me put this on the screen so I'm not looking off to the side, that came up while you were speaking, that I think we can help at least unpack a little bit more for the youth. You mentioned that you have not to lose your faith in what you love. And I think this is quite striking and telling. Were there points where you felt you were losing your faith? And if so, what did you do to overcome this?
So in my case, I consider myself a very disciplined person, but there's been for sure several moments that you ask yourself, is this the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? I don't know what's coming next. We're all comfortable in our bubbles, right? Mm-hmm. So we're all comfortable in where we are right now. But then comfort doesn't make us grow, right? And so always trying to find the next challenge to always keep growing and be comfortable within the uncomfortable. So, but in my specific case, when I feel that when you're driven by passion, when you have something that you really believe in it, I feel that all the unknown, all the fears become secondary. So in a way, that's what has helped me to keep moving forward. So in a way, sometimes I just needed from a friend to say, Manuela, do it. Manuela, it's okay. It's okay to fail. Or it's okay to learn. Like keep. Sometimes I needed that push, and that I don't deny. Like everything that I do and where I am today, yes, it's thanks to me, but also to the people around me, to my family, to my friends, because they are also the motivator. They are like the support network that everybody needs. We're no one alone, right? So we always have to keep that in mind. We are part of a community in different ways, and we need to be grateful to that. So that was my motivator. Like why, in my specific case, my passion became growing in an humble context myself, and not having experienced diversity much. So my passion was to learn languages and then help others. And so I make that my passion, and now today is my job. So I always have that in mind. Like all the work I'm doing, all the failures that I'm experiencing right now, I know that one day will become something tangible.
Yeah. No, thank you. I think that's very important, and it actually strikes at something that we discussed throughout the course of the week, particularly on Tuesday when we spoke about mentorship. You mentioned about feedback and the loop that this creates for you in terms of standing on other people's shoulders, and I think that's one way that extends our reach. Because if I think of my walk, I even think of your walk, which I've been a part of, none of us got to where we are simply by our own will and intellect alone. It was because others took the opportunity to pour into us, allowing us to learn, and as a result, let us get to where we are. Which leads me to my next question on fear. One of the audience member, Waithera Mboro, agrees with you that fear seems to be the greatest challenge in entrepreneurship. And for me, I see a lot of the work that you do to support young women in tech, and why you saw it fit to be a bastion for change for young women. Can you probably put that within the context of and tell us what you saw that led you to really champion women in tech in these areas? And were there any fears and assumptions that you had to overcome in order to create a better path for others to follow, particularly young women?
100 points for the question, first of all, because this is truly, I love the question. So yes, so going back to the concept of entrepreneurship. So when I first joined the World Bank Group 5 years ago, I joined in a context that was completely new to me, which is the technology arena, the technology sector. So I had no idea even to what it meant to restart my computer. So I had to learn really the basics. And not only that, I was working then in the technology field, but as a role as a project manager. So I was like, okay, fine, that's a challenge. And then I started looking at myself around, and I saw there was no diversity. And what I mean by that, diversity, not in nationality, because I think one of the greatest assets of the World Bank, and David, you can agree with me on this, is our diversity in where we come from. We have over 180 nationalities represented within the institution. So it's amazing. You feel like at the center of the world, in a melting pot of cultures. But what I meant by diversity is like, I didn't see any gender diversity. And most of the time, I looked myself around. I was several times either me or maybe two women in a meeting of 10 people, of which most of the people were men. And so how do you raise in this context, and how do you change that? And so after I started experiencing that, I work with a group of other women within, and not only women, but also men, because remember, mentorship is important, but also sponsorship. And so you need sponsors as well. And in order to get sponsorship, people that believe in you and invest in you, you need diversity on that. So when you want to create something, you need all the parties to sit at the table. So in my case was, I wanted to create more jobs for women in the institution, and in my specific department. And I wanted to both men and women to sit at the decision making table. So when we started working on this idea, we started with, why don't we start women in IT program, and so internship program. So we created that, and again, this was not done just by me. It was a big effort across the department of people that believed in the cause, including directors on both genders that truly believed in the power of diversity. And so we started a Women in IT internship program. Then I noticed I had the opportunity to analyze the diversity and inclusion data in my department, and I saw that there was a bit of disconnect. I saw that most of the women were in assistant roles, like secretary or executive assistant, and there were very few at the managerial role. So we turned this as an opportunity. Now, it was a challenge, yes, but then we turned that as an opportunity to bring more diversity. And so today, after 4 years, now the management team in my department is composed by 50%, almost 50% equality in gender. And of course, diversity in nationalities, which is a given at the World Bank. So that's definitely a big achievement. But then how do you do that? To respond to your question, you have to start seeding, right? And then the plant doesn't grow in one day. You need seeds, you need water, you need food, you need sun. So that's exactly what we did. Like, we started with this small idea. Hey, how about we create an internship program? Hey, how about we hire more managers as women? And then that created this big, what is today a much bigger impact. But everything, allow yourself time. Don't be impatient. It's okay to wait, because changes are happening even when you don't realize. But when you look back 5 years ago, then you notice the big difference.
That's very good. Allow yourself time. It's okay to wait. Do not be impatient. It reminds me of one of my favorite verses that tell you not to awaken things before their time. I think this is very profound, Manuela, which kind of creates a segue for my next question, because you talked about increasing diversity of teams, and you found that there were not a lot of women in your team, and you worked on that. One of actually a few questions from the audience on this subject of team. Olela Tony says, I face a big challenge in choosing team members. I try, but they fail me. They start and give up the process. What can I do? Stephen adds, what do you consider when choosing a great team to work with? Can you maybe in a few points tell us what are some of the considerations you have made when it comes to choosing your team? And I know you and I have been in situations where the team members were not pulling their own weight. Can you also speak a little bit on that?
Yes. So, and David, please help me out here remembering all the questions. I'm not taking notes, so I'll go with my brain for now, but feel free to repurpose the question if I missed the answer. So sometimes, actually when I work on several projects, I'm not the one necessarily choosing the team. So I've had both situations where I chose my team, but also other situations where I didn't choose my team and I had to work with whatever I was given, right? So, and I think that adds challenges, but also you as the leader, or in my case, as the project manager of a specific project, you need to speak with your team members. And this, I'm talking about the situation that you're given a team, right? You don't have power in deciding with whom you're working. And talk to them, establish an open door policy in which you're open to hear their thoughts and they're open to hear your thoughts, vice versa. And you discuss, right? You create some sort of open conversation on what's next and in the projects, what are the key milestones and deliverables. But then understand each team member's strength and then make that work at your advantage. And when I say at your advantage, at your project's advantage, like to create the best project or to implement the best idea. So what I noticed that has been incredibly helpful, because number one, sometimes I was told, oh, this person is great for writing, but then maybe that was not what we needed. Maybe we needed a graphic designer. And so I would challenge that person and say, hey, would you be willing to learn something new and put yourself into graphic design? Kind of create that desire of doing something different, but then something that I would notice that could be their strength. And so you help them also finding their own strength. But at the same time, you also leverage what you need for the specific project, but also their capabilities, and you kind of stretch their skills, which is great for an employee when I see that as something positive. When I'm asked, hey Manuela, like right now I was thrown into this project, and when I say thrown, truly like pulled into this project kind of towards the end, when I had to recreate how to make sure that everybody has digital skills within the institution. So we had to start over. And how do you do that? You really speak to the team and hear all the ideas. But at the end of the day, also what's important is the users. Mm-hmm. So for sure, keep finding those strengths in your team. And also, if you have the power to choose, that's great, because that's already what you want, and what you're looking for in a possible candidate. And to be honest, one big thing that for me it's important when I hire someone to work on a project with me, I want to see passion, because when passion is missing, then it becomes harder for you to move things forward. So for me, it's all about the why. Why do you want to help me? Why do you want to join my team? It's all about that.
Yeah. Okay, that's really, really good. And I think the why is important, which while we are talking about that, one of the things that I see coming up a lot from people is this notion of discouragement. So maybe we can segue from teams and move into how we overcome discouragement. And let me read you some of the questions from the audience members. I'm kind of putting them in context. So Afanta says, I have some business ideas, but starting up has become a problem because I do receive advice from friends and family, and to which some extent discourages me on how to commence. And then a gentleman also called Colin says, on that note, criticism and rejection commonly affects us in society when we come up with ideas about entrepreneurship. We often lack support from them. How can we overcome this? So the question here, I guess, putting it into context is like, how do you or how can people overcome discouragement when they feel as if they're lacking support? In your particular case, you have moved to a different country. This is probably the third country that you have lived and worked with. I'm sure at one point or another you have faced discouragement. And criticism from others. How have you gone to overcome this?
So I think that's when, going back to the point of fear, right? So our fears come with the unknown. It comes also that we're pushed because maybe we don't have the support network that we need or we want, and we feel discouraged, we feel criticized. But at the end of the day, it's you, right? And what I keep saying to people that come to me, sometimes I receive these comments from young women, but also young men that come to me and they're like, "But Manuela, like how do I move forward? Like how is it possible?" And I'm like, or my dad wants me to become something else than what I want, or I'm not mentioning any jobs because of the, any job is absolutely respectful, but sometimes it's not exactly what you're looking for, what's within you. And so it comes to you at the end of the day. It comes to your passion. It comes to, if you truly believe in what you want to do, uh, you have that strength, that fire in you that you want to always alimент, you always want to feed, right? And so in my case, I knew I was discouraged to go abroad because I was told, you don't speak any French and you're moving to France, and how are you going to do with that? And plus, oh, one family member, not my direct family member, but a more distant family member said, "Oh, so you're gonna leave your family in Italy?" So they kind of leave you with all this big burden, right? So when you're there to take the next leap, you're like stopped. But then you have to realize there's a moment that you have to say, "That's it. Like, this is what I really want to do." I'm pretty sure that when you find discouragement, when you feel discouraged because of, friends and family telling you this, then I'm pretty sure you can turn that into another way and say, would you be happy if I'm happy? I'm sure they would say yes to that. And if the reason of your happiness is doing, creating a new business, moving abroad, working for an institution that you believed in. Like, I worked for the World Bank and I fell in love with the mission of the institution. I I fell in love with it and I'm happy about it. And I feel that happier people make happier communities, and at the same time, if you're not happy with yourself, then it goes the other way around. Then at the same time, you won't be happy with your friends and family either, or your community around you. So you really have to understand when it's time to say, as we say in Italian, basta, enough.
Mhm.
So you really have to listen to your inner voice and move forward. There's gonna be fears. We all experience that. We are all going to experience that. It's not something that just ends. You're like, oh, I experienced fear in that and that's it. No, every time you challenge yourself, every time you want to learn, every time you want to do something new, there's always going to be a challenge. There's always going to be a fear. And I want you to know it's totally normal. So if you have that fire in you, let it burn in a way that will bring you where you want to be, and you only know.
Oh, that's very good. That's very good. Very, very articulate and very well put. I see a sense of theme that's coming across from another topic that we will have to address, not today, but another topic lesson. And this is, how do you overcome fear and discouragement, particularly for young people, when you're faced with this avenues and ventures that sometimes it's coming from your very support structures, your bosses or your family members, and you have this vision on goal, and you're having to circumvent what I'll call this minefield, right? Your example of going to France and so forth. While on that, I have one just brief question on this, because you have a lot of young people who may go into a particular field that they did not want to. And by this, I mean educationally, largely because they were, their family told them, you should study engineering when they really wanted to go business, or you should study business when they wanted to do something else. Our question here says, can what one pursued in tertiary education or tertiary institution, especially if it wasn't business related, disadvantage them from the world of entrepreneurs? you studied languages and you're working as an entrepreneur. So clearly for you, the fact that you didn't, quote unquote, study an undergrad in business administration hasn't disadvantaged you from going further on this. Can you speak a little bit on this? Do you have to have a business degree or a particular degree to be an entrepreneur, an entrepreneur?
Okay, so the short answer to that is no. And the reason being is that, but I don't want to be misinterpreted by that. So education is absolutely important. And I am very grateful for the education the access to education I was given to. We have the big lack in my country that education is free and accessible for everyone. Now, not everyone takes advantage of this big privilege that we have. In fact, and for many reasons, sometimes it's generational, sometimes it's cultural. Like I'm thinking about my parents' generation, they didn't have the opportunity to access education back in the days, because then my grandparents needed someone to help with the household, and so they needed kids to help providing work and then helping with the household financials. And so they just straight from mandatory school, which back then was middle school in Italy, and my parents' age, they just went into work, and so they missed a big opportunity there. So for sure, education is important, but then, do you need a business degree? So I minored in business. At the end of the day, yes, it was helpful, but it's truly the learning happens by doing. So once you start something, like I don't have an IT degree and I work in IT. So it's important to educate yourself, but also it's important to always learn by doing. And this learning happens only when you make mistake, when you think you're failing. That's when the learning happens. When you want to start something new, that's when the learning happens, because you are going to educate yourself automatically. And today we have such an amazing tool, which is Google, or the network around us, that enables us to be here today, even to talk. You ask any questions and you get the answer right away. And it's up to you what answer you prefer at the end of the day, but it's really important. So education happens in school, but also on the job, or while you're trying to implement what your ideas or what you want to do.
That's very good. So the notion here is education is important, but do not let that be an inhibitor to the ideas or passions that you have. If you don't have that specific education background, you can still go on out into the field, particularly along the interconnected world that we're in, and expand that knowledge for yourself. I, for one, have done that in my experience, in terms of how I have interjected knowledge from fields that I don't have an educational background in to help me get to where I need to be. So for those who asked whether you need to have a business degree to join the world of entrepreneurship, the answer is no, you don't necessarily need to, right? And you can pick up some of those skills. Of course, having an understanding of business is also important, and you can learn while doing so. I want to ask another question that now focuses on what you particularly love, Manuela, which is entrepreneur. And Eunice Wanjiro has a question. She says, as entrepreneurs, we are advised to first become entrepreneurs in organizations that absorb us once we get into the job market. What should I do to keep the fire burning if the organization I am working in at the present time doesn't have a culture, or rather doesn't have an appreciation for entrepreneurs' efforts in teams of change and wanting to do things differently? And I think this is very good given your background. We work for an institution that is a big juggernaut, and like a big a cruise ship is difficult to turn, right? And so how have you overcome that in actually being what I would say the premier entrepreneur in a lot of the things that I've seen you do?
Thank you, David. So I think it's all about building desire. So it's truly, again, even when you look for funding, you look for a mentor, you have to make me fall in love with what you're doing. And that's where I'm going to be helping you. And that's where, because I would feel passionate about it, I will believe in the cause. And so it's really about, it's a bit like change management. We introduce change, right, in the institution, but then you also want to build desire, because otherwise you're going to find resistance all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me why you want to make this specific change. Did you talk to your colleagues? Did you consult with other people, or does this change come just out of your mind? And if so, what's the thinking behind? Do you have some data that back up your idea? Sometimes it's actually about showing the data, showing the stats, like, hey, maybe it's about improving staff feeling included in the workplace. And what does that mean? And for that, for an example can be, you can start by asking them what would make them feel more included. And so you start with a survey, and then with the survey results, then you go back to your boss and you say, hey, this is what would make people feel better, feel more included. And again, this is just an example, and it's me brainstorming right now, but it's really building that desire that a change is needed, but is also for the best.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to segue in and bring in Elizabeth to create this continued power pack women panel that is answering some of these specific challenges that you're undergoing. And I want to kind of go back on the issue of discouragement and disappointment. And Elizabeth, this one is to you. Chime in based on what Manuela has covered on this particular question on criticism and rejection that commonly affects us in society when we come up with ideas, particularly ideas about entrepreneurship or something else, or entrepreneurship that Manuela has talked about. We often lack support from them. How do we overcome this criticism and lack of support? Building on what Manuela has said, what have you done to overcome criticism and lack of support?
That was for me?
David? Elizabeth, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad to be here with Manuela. Who run the world? Girls. But anyway, on that one, I'm loving the conversation because one, it reminds us we're human. And fear, as Manuela has said, is a part of a feeling we feel, just the same way we'll feel love. So criticism and rejection, we need to accept they will come. First is the reality that not everybody you meet, just think about it logically. Not everybody you meet will give you congratulations. If you go into the world knowing that, when you find those 1 in 10, or maybe even 1 in 2 that criticize and rejection, you already know that will come, but you need to decipher, is this constructive criticism or is it destructive? Constructive criticism is one we can learn from, that is there to build us up. There will be always room for improvement. Manuela said, the first time you do something, you're learning. And a part of learning is knowing what you don't know and what you didn't do right the first time, and then you improve. So you have to decipher those two types. And then at the end of it all, have tough skin. Not everybody will say, oh, Elizabeth, you're so good. Oh my goodness, you're great. Oh my goodness, you're this. You're a great moderator. Somebody may say, you talk too much. You talk too fast. You talk with your hands. But you have to own who you are. David, you know I'm big on being authentic. Once you know who you are, your qualities, your strengths, and your weaknesses, then you work to maximize your strengths. And you work to minimize your weaknesses in a way that they don't negatively affect you, putting yourself with people that can match that up. That's why we've talked about partnerships and having co-founders and a core group of people that will be able to criticize you constructively and affirm you when that rejection comes and said, you know, yeah, I can see why it was denied. I can see why they didn't pick you, but that does not mean there is not a place for you. Not everything will be for you, but something will be for you. And it's your job to find which one it is and use your resources. And we do SWOT analysis in everything we do, right? Strengths, weaknesses, others, threats. Do the same for yourself too. And don't take feedback that does not affirm and say good job as bad, right? There are people that will be negative, unfortunately, but use that for your good. Every little rock that is thrown at you, turn it into a gold nugget. You decide what you do with what people say. You are the only one that controls your response to any feedback, and you can change it and channel it in that way.
David,
if I can add to what Elizabeth said, it's to her point, it's also very important to, again, there will always be people that are maybe discouraging you, but also criticism is not bad, but you have to know how to pick the right criticism, like, because then sometimes when criticism is just because of the sake of criticism, and I know there's so many people like that, then it's not worth it. But when it's criticism to help you out in getting your idea better, it's absolutely important. And you have to learn also how not to be sensitive, because remember, it's always gonna be good to receive authentic and, as I call it, brutal feedback, because I know for sure you're not gonna like it at first, but it's gonna help you to create a better product or a better service or a better project after. And so also learn how to be self-aware, understand your, to Elizabeth's point before, your strength. And I don't call them weaknesses, I call them areas of improvement. And because that's where you would need help in making your project succeed. And so, for instance, if you were, in my case, I'm talking about me, English is not my first language. So I know for sure that whatever I write in English, there must be mistakes, and that's okay. That's absolutely okay. But then maybe I need to work with an editor, which is an English native speaker, that would help me polish the concept and make it better. So so realize that it's okay not to check all the marks, right? It's okay not to have like all the skills for building a business. Like maybe you're not a lawyer, but you need lawyers. So that's where I would probably hire someone that is an expert in that level. So just a thought.
Many thanks for that. No, I completely agree, and I think this is the two of you could not have articulated this better. I want to talk about two particular things as we come to a wrap up on the Q&A, and we'll see whether there are any others. Something that I've struggled with, and I see that other people have struggled with it as well, and this is procrastination, right? And it was framed in an interesting segue in that it was asked, I don't know how to pronounce the name, it's Isinyasa says, I struggled with procrastination. And it's largely tied to the fear of failure and having doubts in your own capabilities. And that's why he struggles. Most of us struggle with procrastination from a different angle. But since we've already talked about fear and capabilities, for you, Elizabeth, and then on to you, Manuela, same question. Have there been times where your procrastination has been related not to laziness, but to the fact that you doubt your own capabilities in doing a project or in doing something? And if so, how did you overcome that?
Absolutely. That's a great question. And I said, remember, we're human. It's okay for us to know we're human. We will not be robots. That if you're supposed to wake up at 9 a.m. to do that task, you will do it. Life happens. And for me, I am a procrastinator. Even maybe I brag about being a procrastinator and how the last minute anxiety and pressure channels me to do my best work. I think there are two sides to that coin, right? Procrastination is avoiding doing what you know you should be doing, that kind of thing. And you have to ask yourself why. Is it because you thrive in high stress situations? Okay, yes, but is it because you are uncertain? You are anxious. You don't know if you have the capabilities to do that. For me, imposter syndrome is real, right? This idea that, yeah, oh my goodness, I'm in this place of leadership. I'm expected to be the expert, but I don't feel like the expert. So I question and check and double check every single thing. And that keeps me from writing. One example is I am working to publish for part of my tenure. And I have found that I am more likely to keep up and finish publications where I am collaborating with people. Why? Because they hold me accountable. My weakness is procrastination and doubting myself. So I elevate that weakness and put myself with other people. For example, Manuela, that I know she is on it. If we agree, Elizabeth, I need a draft Friday at 8 a.m., I may be fishing Wednesday because I procrastinate. I will find things to do. I will rearrange my closet. I will paint and repaint my nails. I will talk to the neighbor, and I'm an introvert. I will even paint my room to avoid that task. But it's me finding ways to control what I can and know that I know I can paint, so I will be successful. So, but if I know Manuela is waiting on me, I will do that task. And most of the times I do it excellently. And so I have found that I will most likely always deal with procrastination, but I need to ask myself, is it because I feel inadequate? And if it is, then I call myself a come to Jesus meeting where I say, Elizabeth, you are capable. Elizabeth, nobody gave you this degree because you bought it or your last name is this. You earned this, and because of that, you are an expert in this field. I affirm myself rather than waiting on Manuela to affirm me, because she doesn't have the time to keep doing that. And then I keep up with my word of turning that draft into Manuela. So that is how I deal with it. I realize it happens, it's a reality, but for me, it's because I'm doubting myself. So what do? I cheerlead and self-motivate. I come up with a plan of action, and then I stay accountable to a Manuela. And that's how I tackle it.
Oh, wonderful. Staying accountable, cheerleading, and self-motivating. Same question to you, Manuela. How do you overcome procrastination, particularly when you feel it's coming from a sense of fear of misplaced inadequacy?
Yeah, one thing, so this I'm gonna place it a bit on the gender side because there's a little bit of difference in how we behave. So, and I think Elizabeth can agree to this as well as the women in the chat connecting. So I feel that some of the times when I was procrastinating or I was feeling a little lagging behind or had fears, sometimes it was just about someone telling me, Manuela, you can do it. Or hearing like stories from other people that did the same thing or went through the same. So, and then again, going back to the concept, if she can do it, if he can do it, I can do it as well. And it's a bit about like the motto of the Youth Engagement Society, like if she can, I can, or if they can, I can. And but what's more important, it's setting up a goal by when and why. To me, what kept me up all the time, it was the why, and I need to do it by this time. So I had a goal, like, I don't know, any goals in the personal life, in professional life. An example that I'm pretty sure everybody has been going through. I want to lose weight. Everybody goes through that, right? So don't buy your candies. Don't buy things that distract you from that goal. And so same thing for a project. Commit to what you want to accomplish, and give yourself a reward after, right? Once you lose weight, it's okay to enjoy a piece of cake after, right? So give yourself that type of burning feeling that you're like, I'm doing this for a great reason by this time, and I'm gonna get rewarded afterward. So that's what kept me going after, especially during procrastination time. So no distraction.
Okay, that is good. That is good. That is good. So another important burning question, while in the workspace, how do you deal with corporate bullies? Particularly maybe interject, answer the question broadly, but I would love to hear for the young women out there, how do you deal with this aspect where maybe you're not taken seriously because of you're a woman, or because you come from a poor background, or because you come, fill in the blank. But overall, how do you deal with corporate bullies or workplace bullies?
So in that specific case, it's funny that you're mentioning, because I will start with my personal story. When I was younger, so I experienced bullying because my parents moved from Italy is like the shape of a boot. So from the center region, we went all the way down to the heel region, the heel of the boot, which is where my family is from. For family reasons, we had to move where the entire family was. And so when I moved there, I was 9 years old, and I had a different accent. Italy has many accents, like every country, like even this country, the United States, has different accents. I had a different accent. I had a different school program that I started. It was in my elementary school, and I was shifting right in the middle. So before completing my primary school, that's when my parents moved. And so I had to start in a new primary school in the South. And plus, I was seen as the disruptor, right? Because I was coming in as the new girl in the school. And for as exciting as it was at the beginning, it turned out to be a bit of the reason, of bullying. And one was the accent. Oh, you speak so differently than us. And the other reason was that, fashion is a big thing in my country. We have to admit it. And my parents couldn't afford for me to have like brand clothes. And still nowadays, I don't care about brands. I don't wear them I oppose to that, but that's my personal reason. And so what happens is that it's so that I turned that into an opportunity. In my case, I was bullied because I was wearing a pair of shoes that had holes in it. I was not wearing brand clothes. I had a different accent. I turned that into an opportunity to work harder and harder. And now when I look at myself nowadays and I look at those bullies, what they are today, I see a big reason why they were bullying, right? And so sometimes the reason of bullying, which is, by the way, unacceptable, it's because those people are going through some challenges themselves, and so they mirror it back to other people. And that's unfortunate and very sad. But we cannot remember one thing: you cannot control other people, but you can control your own actions. And so I work harder and harder, and I really wanted to prove to myself that I was capable. I could learn all the languages I wanted. I could travel the world. I didn't really need to prove who I was to others. I just really needed to own my own identity, as to Elizabeth's point before, and be grateful for that. Be grateful for who you are, and let all the noise, as I call it, that's noise. And I know it's not pleasing noise to have bullying around you, but there's gonna be times that bullying needs to stop. And so how do you do that? First of all, work always on yourself, don't lose sight, but then also find that, again, that support network that can help you fight those discriminatory actions, because maybe you're not the only one experiencing bullying, and that's not okay.
Thank you. Very, very touching, Manuela. And Sam Thiongo, one of the audience members, says to that, do not let your brain be a dump site of unnecessary information. Get necessary feedback and information from friends and family. Let the unimportant ones pass. So that really brings me full circle to this next question, where Manuela, you said, own your own identity. I'm going to first pass it on to Elizabeth and ask, how can we fit in other big shoes while maintaining our own identities?
Ooh, that's a great question. That's a loaded question, by the way. That's a way of me saying, I hear you, David. My brain is turning to figure out what to say. But that is a great question. And I will not tire to say that that is a valid question for all of us, right? I am hoping and appreciate all of those asking questions that are vulnerable to show that you deal with something. And sometimes we just have to own some of the these. And one of them is just that, working to feel somebody or to fit shoes that are big shoes. And we have to take on the mantle. And I'll use an example in my own scenario in terms of in ministry. And on the other end of my everyday is I work in ministry in partnership with my father. And I'll try not to get emotional, but he has really big shoes because he is a giant. He may not be a giant to you, but he's a giant to me. And when I think about the size of the shoes that I am to fill, the inadequacy, the fear, all this come into place. But one thing he always says is, God does not call the qualified. He qualifies those he calls. And we can apply that regardless of what you believe. We can apply that to everything. If you have a purpose in life and you have a passion to have a business that makes an impact, not only to you, but to others, that is your purpose and that is your calling. And you have been equipped with the talents and the skill sets you need. Some of them you have to fine tune them. And knowing that you will not be able to do something the way somebody else does exactly. Think of your thumbprints, right? Our fingerprints, they're different. If you think, I like to think logical when I challenge some of the self-doubt and self-challenges that I come up with, is I will never do things like my father. One, because I'm not my father. I am Elizabeth Wanjiku Washira, right? I was born in a different time. I have a different way of thinking. I have different qualities and characteristics. So once I own who I am, my identity as a woman, my identity as somebody who is passionate about this, and I know that in order to accomplish that call or that task, I will have to use my skill set, but I don't have to do it by myself. Just because I'm here to fill my father's shoes does not mean my father cannot help me fill his shoes with me, right? His leadership, what he has taught me. So what I would say for you, whether it is in business, whether it is siblings, don't try to fit something exactly the same way. Manuela and I may have the same pair of shoes, the same pair of black Jimmy Choo shoe, for example. And we bought it at the same time. It's the same size from the same person. But my experiences with that shoe may be completely and will be completely different from Manuela's. Why? My foot is an African foot, okay? Manuela's is her foot. They are different things. She will experience pain maybe on her big toe. I will experience pain on my little toe. So rather than try to fit Manuela's shoes, I own that I'm different. And I own that I will bring something different to the table. So I accept that I'm going to fill these shoes my way. And as long as I am doing my very best, don't be lazy and say, oh, because I can never attain it, there's no point trying. No, you try. You give your best. You show up. You deal with procrastination. You deal with fear, but you fill those shoes your own way, because that's the only way you will ever be able to fill it. So if you are online to take up your boss's job, you're not going to do the work like him. And please don't. We're not replicas. We are so authentically beautiful. We should refuse people replicating us. I don't want you to be like Elizabeth. I want you to be you. You can learn things from me, but you need to be you. So you have to own your identity first and realize what you bring to the table is a little different. It's a little different spice. Some of us like West African food. We like it hot. Some of us are Kenyan and we like it with barely no salt. You own your sauce and you bring it to the table. And if your sauce is not being served, well, then you bring your own and you say, this is my sauce. Feel free to taste it. But if not, you can leave it. That's what I would say.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. That is impressive. God does not call the qualified, but he qualifies those who he calls. Own that you're different and be comfortable with your own identity. We're wrapping up, and I want to thank everyone for participating. That will have been the last question. I just want to give this segue to Manuela to say your final words of inspiration or anything you want to say to the youth that are distributed across the world. Over to you, Manuela.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Elizabeth, for sharing your thoughts and your experience. And again, thank you so much for inviting me here today. My last thought to you would be good luck with what you want to do. I really wish you the best. And when I'm saying this, I really mean it, because everyone has her own strength, and I really hope you will discover those. And again, do not fear anything. It's okay to experience that sense of uncomfort, but move forward. Don't give up, and keep learning, because learning is what is gonna help you do the next leap. So that's my thought to you. And thank you very much for listening and for inviting me here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Manuela. Elizabeth, any final words before I pass it on to Dr. Kagema?
Absolutely. I will summarize what I have been saying. We are human. Acknowledge that in yourself, but acknowledge that in other people. The same feelings of doubt and inadequacy and fears and failures that you have experienced, others have too. And rather than bully somebody because of something they lack or because of something they did, let us truly work to lift one another up and not focus on competition, but collaboration. And I hope that sometimes we can get so amped up in inspiration, but when you leave this platform today, you're going to be hit with the realities of the world. The same challenges that you mentioned that you experience in, whether it's funding, whether it is big self-doubt, whether it is procrastination, whatever the challenge are, those are real, right? Let us not be the ostrich and say, I can do all things, I can do all things, I can do all things. Yes, you can. But you also have to be realistic and accept what can you not change, right? Grant me the wisdom to know the things that I can change and the things that I cannot. And those things that you can, work very hard to change them. And as you do that, build a core group of people that will see the potential in you and pull it out of you. And when you go through times of lowness, they will be able to remind you of the goal you had in mind. Habakkuk 2:2 says this, write the vision and make it plain. So whatever your goal is in running this business, make it plain. Do you want to sell blue masks that have a yellow logo on the left? You actualize and really visualize what you purpose to accomplish, and then work to build that a day at a time. Rome was not built in a day. There were challenges. Stones ran out. Workers ran out, money ran out, but don't stop. Start and do not stop. It does not matter if it is one step a day, you will ultimately get there. So build your army, know that you can, recognize the realities and the challenges, and control what you can, and the rest, just leave it out there and go from there. Thank you, David.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Truly inspiring words. This has been a very inspiring session and a very inspiring week. For my end, as I wait for Dr. Kagema, I will close with this. Last question from Philomena Gitu said, a young person living in Kiandutu slum in Kenya faces a myriad of problems, not least the lack of opportunities and resources, not to mention the lack of mentors. What would your advice be? Well, Philomena and others listening, that is why we have set up this forum. That's why we were here all week. We will post this sessions to you so that you can unpack them at your own time. But on top of that, we're going to be sharing our social media handles and our emails so that you can reach out to us. If it's mentorship that you need, send us a message. We will connect you to the right mentors. If it's someone who you need just to advise you on a particular business idea or model that you're interested in, please don't hesitate to send those to us. We are at your disposal, because we believe that when we build one, we build the whole community. And when we build the whole community, so we change our own entire country. And by that, we also change the world. So I leave you with that. Let your vision be plain, write it up, and it shall come to pass. It will not tarry. With that, I pass it on to Dr. Kagema, and thank you so much for being part of this discussion.
Splendid, Dr. Washela, Elizabeth there, Manuela. We are just ecstatic. I don't know if that's the right word to say. So excited that this has come the way it has. This indeed is a great evening, and we have been highly inspired. I've captured the last two words from Dr. Elizabeth: visualize, actualize, one step at a time. And this has been very possible when we visualize that we should have this forum together, Youth Engagement Society and Karatina University. And now we can see the fruits of that week's labor. And what more do we say? It's quite marvelous, it's quite exciting, and we look forward. To all our esteemed participants, you have noted for yourselves the direction we have undertaken, and we came here with a common purpose to inspire us, to empower ourselves, so that we can now see the world anew. We can see things from a different perspective, unlike how we used to see it. So I believe each one of us has something that we are taking home, key messages that will from hence provide a new paradigm for our lives. I feel quite excited that this has come the way it has. I want to recognize the presence of some key guests with us. Professor Wanjao there. Most of us have met him in this forum. He was a participant, sorry, he was a trainer. Dr. Kellen Kiambati, welcome. And I can also recognize two partners of ourselves from Standard Media. I can see Catherine and Victor. I will be requesting Professor Wanjao to invite them to say a word before he closes this forum officially on behalf of our Deputy Vice Chancellor Academics, Research and Student Affairs, Professor Alo Budo. And mine is just to say that this is just a starting point. We have crafted, we have designed a new journey that Karatina University and Youth Engagement Society will craft to identify core issues that are affecting us, so that we are here to provide some interactive directions and come up with some workable solutions, so that we do something to change our world. And that's quite wonderful. So without much ado, even as we come to close, let me ask Dr. Kellen to kindly greet our audience. I know some of us have may not have been there when she was presenting. Dr. Kellen, are you with us?
As we wait for Dr. to come up, let me remind the audience that the link for the attendance is online. Feel free to select it and enter your details so that we can have your information for the certificates and participation for this past week. So go ahead and visit the link on the chat. It will be live for even after the forum ends for about another 20-30 minutes. And over to you, Dr. Kiambati.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wachira, Dr. Kagema, and all other people, participants present. I just want to say hello to everyone. I am the coordinator, Career and Placement Services, Karatina University. I am so excited to come to the end of this training. and also excited because I know this is just the beginning. We have quite a number of other partnerships that we will forge moving on. And just to let you know, next month we have a career week, Dr. Washira, and we are hoping to invite you through Dr. Kagema, who is the coordinator of community outreach, so that we can partner with you as we deliver our career week next month. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Daktari. I think without much ado, I should request Professor Wanjao to get on board, and he will introduce our partners from the Standard Media. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you all for being part of this event. Before I actually say my closing speech, which will be very brief, very brief, I would like to allow one of our partners, that is the Standard Group, who have been part and parcel of this event, listening and also making various comments, just to say hello to the audience. It's a global audience, Victor and Catherine. So let me allow you to talk to say hello. So Victor, we go with you. Start with you.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Victor from the Standard Group. I know we have partnered with Karatina University on many programs, and we have also benefited from Karatina University on such training programs. It has been an eye-opener to us, and it has also made us see that there are gaps, despite where you are in terms of profession or at what level of profession you are. Those refresher trainings, we have realized there are gaps, and we thank the university for having such programs, and we look forward to be joining such training partnerships to benefit in terms of personal growth and also to sharpen our skills in our daily operations. I think that's it.
Thank you, Victor. Over to you, Catherine.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Well, my name is Catherine Kibe. I work with Standard Newspaper, Standard Group Limited. Well, thank you so much for the invite. We've partnered a lot, as Victor said, with Karatina University. And thank you for this insightful forum and the training. I've learned a lot, and I've gotten a lot of skills, and I hope to partner with you more. I now know Dr. David Washira, though we've not met. I'm hopeful we will meet someday, and Dr. Elizabeth Washira as well. Thank you so much. Good evening.
Thank you. You have also heard of Dr. Kellen. Yeah. So you'll also meet us. You'll also meet her when you're organizing. She's organizing the Career Week. Yeah. And Dr. David and Dr. Elizabeth are supported ably by Caroline and Dorcas. So those are people we'll also introduce to the to your team. So
thank you.
Yeah. So on behalf of the university, I'd like to thank the YES team led by Dr. Washira for choosing Karatina University as your partner. Indeed, we have really benefited from this kind of discussion, and it enhances our tagline, that is Green Entrepreneurial University. we are indeed an entrepreneurial university because we have taken this step, this direction, to actually engage partners who think in an entrepreneurial way. And this is one of the major mandates of the university, that is tapping on relevant partnerships, opportunities that can benefit not only our university, but also the country at large. So as a university, we are focused, on engaging more partners, like, yes, irrespective of whether you're private or public, so that we can collaborate in areas that are of mutual benefit towards the realization of the university vision. And one area that we are very keen is how to grow the youth, especially when it comes to helping them to develop startups. We are keen on that, and that is why we have engaged at the Yes team, because it will also help us to get in touch with the youth who have deliberately taken that route of being self-employment, because we do believe on self-employment. As a university, we have a course on entrepreneurship and quite a number of various activities, which I'll call entrepreneurial activities, that are actually going on. As earlier mentioned by the DVC, we are part of a project that is sponsored by DAD, that is developing entrepreneurial universities in Kenya. And so far, so good. There is an ongoing training between our university and Salad, and we have 200 of our students who are actually being trained on how to start a business. It's an 11-week program. So indeed, you can see that we are an entrepreneurial university and keen to work with the young people. And such collaborations are helping the university to address global challenges, because the youth issue is being discussed by every leader. And we have decided as a university to face it head on and prioritize it. And that is why this particular initiative is very important for this particular, for the university. So I thank the Yes team, and we hope to engage your team, Dr. Washira, in other activities, so that you can help us to continue enhancing our brand as an entrepreneurial university. We are looking forward in being a hub in Mount Kenya region of training youth entrepreneurs. And we'll be glad to collaborate with you and any other international organization that is so keen in tapping the resources the university has in reaching to the youth. So thank you, and God bless you. Santeni.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wanjau. It is certainly a pleasure. We are thrilled to have been a part of this process and program, and we greatly look forward to doing it again and again and again, and creating even more. I believe we spoke yesterday that the next one will be on digital literacy, and there'll be multiple other ones coming in. So to our audience, I say again, if there's anything that you're interested in terms of training, mentorship, and opportunities, please don't hesitate to let us know. We are eager to hear and take your input in consideration as we plan the next program. Mine, as I close, is to thank everyone who has been a part of this. Our team at Yes, Caroline and Dorcas, thank you so much, along with Pauline and Grace. We also would be remiss if we did not thank Karatina University for reaching out to us to give us the opportunity to create this forum and to co-design it together. We look forward to many more. With that, I have nothing else unless, Elizabeth, I have missed anything. Are we ready to close?
We are closing prayer for us for today. If we can ask Carol to jump in.